Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of, I was almost going to say the wrong name, Unchained Business. We have a lot of feedback, Billy, that the audience really likes that name much better than Business Badassery. So my feeling is kind of hurt because that was my idea and Unchained Business was your idea. So they like your idea better.
Thanks, audience.
Yeah. Billy is having internet troubles because she lives out in the middle of nowhere, literally. And so she has, so you have no internet. Do you still have no internet right now in your house? She's operating off of her phone, so she can't do video. Those of you who watch the video version of this.
Yep. It's the end of April is when we're filming this. And it was 85 degrees last weekend. And this week it's in the 30s. And we are having thunder snow, which is thunder and lightning and snow. And now it's transitioned into freezing rain and sleet and hail. So it's just a beautiful spring day.
So two examples of insane weather in the United States right now. So I was in Portland, 2 months ago? And it never snowed, virtually never snows in Portland. And I was only there for a week, right? And so while I'm there, not even a week, 5 days, massive snow, the whole city shuts down. I'm like, what the hell? And I was supposed to keep up on my weightlifting with the trainers I'm working with. And so I'm like, okay, I'll find a gym in Portland. And I couldn't because they were all closed. So I'm out so I go literally from Dubai, 90-degree weather to freezing cold snow. I did not bring a jacket because I didn't think I would need one. So I'm walking around outside the snow, just wearing a shirt. Yeah. So then that's that. So then Jeff on our team, as you know, let me see if I get this right. He got 3 feet of snow in one day. And then 2 days later, it was 65 degrees Fahrenheit. So all the snow melted. The house that he was in, he was home sitting for someone, flooded. He has 6 inches of water in the house. He showed us pictures because it went from 3 feet of snow in one day or whatever it was to literally 2 or 3 days later, 65 degrees. And he described this to him. I went, no. He's like, yes. I'm like, you can't go from that to that in 72 hours. But it is.
That's exactly what we did here. Last week was miserable. The weekend before, we had a terrible storm. Actually, that was just last weekend. Terrible snowstorm. And then over the weekend, everything melted. My basement had some water in it. Not too bad.
God. That is insane. So, I was talking to Jeff about this in our last phone call, is that I was going to say I'm the opposite of left winger, but that would be a Trump right winger. I'm not one of those either. I'm not a left winger at all when it comes to climate change and stuff. But I've mentioned this in my content. Climate change is real. We could talk about whose fault it is, but it is real. The weather patterns are completely different in the United States than when I was probably when I don't know if you noticed the difference. When I was a little kid in the 80s and even a young man in the 90s, it was not like this in the Pacific Northwest in terms of the weather patterns. It's like a complete different country. The way that the summers, how the summers work, how the winters work. It's not global warming. It's not hot or cold. It's just completely weird and completely different than it was 25 years ago. Noticeably so. It's crazy. Yeah.
Absolutely. I remember it being, I don't remember ever seeing a thunder snow until maybe.
I've never seen thunder snow. That'd be cool, actually.
It's so weird. So damn weird. And we don't usually have months in the winter where it's warm, above 30. Yeah. I don't even know that we had any weeks this winter that were below maybe 10 below. Usually we have 1 week where it's 20 or 30 below and windy, and we didn't have that at all this year. It's really bizarre.
So and everyone, we just had a meeting, several of us, we're talking about, all you American people are talking about all this horrible weather. And I'm just, well, it's been 83 and sunny today in Dubai because it's sunny every day and it's hot every day and it's nice. And we go to the beach and it's great. All these poor Americans getting frozen and flooded. And this is one of the many reasons to get the hell out. Although that's actually our topic today. Whether or not this podcast is going to go up several weeks after we make this recording, but as Billy mentioned, it is now mid-April, which for you Americans and us Americans, because Billy is an American and I am still technically an American. I don't consider myself an American, but technically I am because I hold that passport. We have to pay taxes. And so April is tax time for Americans. And you want to tell your tax story first, and I'll tell mine.
I don't have much of a story other than I hate doing taxes.
Really? I'm shocked.
Right.
I love doing taxes.
I know. It used to be my favorite lunchtime activity. But it always hurts to have to make a payment in, even though I keep my money in an escrow account, because I have some idea of what my tax burden will be.
Yeah. Matter of fact, we should talk about that. Yeah. Good.
Yeah. How do you handle that, Caleb? We don't have a formal job where they're, keeping money back for us in, some kind of a savings account or an IRA.
Right. So when you have your own business, ladies and gentlemen, and a lot of people are blindsided by this. I was blindsided by this the first few years I was in business. And most new business owners I've talked to get blindsided by this. They don't realize that they have to pay their own taxes or how much they have to pay. And you and I have worked with people who have that problem directly, where they make a bunch of money in the year and they think they're doing okay and everything's fine. And then April, if you're an American anyway, if you're a European in Canada, it's similar, but tax time comes around and suddenly you had your accountant do your taxes and you owe thousands of dollars. And you're like, what? Because you made money in your business and it wasn't a job and you didn't have an employer taking your stuff out of your paycheck and you don't get refunds anymore. So what you have to do, this is what I do, is I have just like you, I have an account that I call taxes. And I shove money into there when it's appropriate. Now, for me, it's weird because I have spikes and lulls throughout the year. I don't make a consistent income every month. I think your income is a little more consistent than mine.
I don't know. There's quite a bit of variability.
Is there? Okay.
I have some idea of what that will look like at the end of the year.
Okay. See, these days I have virtually no idea. Well, in some of my business I do and some I don't. But sometimes I really don't have any idea. So what I do is when there's a surge of income, I take a hunk and I throw it in that account. And I eyeball it based on how much taxes I paid the prior year and based on how much more money I'm making this year. What I used to do, what I recommend people to do is, and this was recommended to me a long time ago by either an accountant or one of my mentors, I forget, is that you take either 20 or 25% of the profit that you make from your business. Let me describe what that means. That means that when you pull money out of your business checking account into your personal account, that becomes a taxable event. Okay. So you want to put 25% of the money that goes into your personal account from your business account and put it away somewhere. Put it in a savings account or a checking account. Doesn't matter. You can use a bank. Doesn't matter because it's only be there for a few months till you pay it. And that way, if you're not paying quarterlies, which you should, no matter what happens, at the end of the year or the beginning of the next year when tax time comes and you get this big tax bill, you go, okay, and you just pay it. And that's usually how I do it. Now, to be clear, if you're an American, you have to pay what's called quarterly estimated payments. So every 3 months, you're supposed to cut a check to the U.S. government. You're supposed to, but you don't have to. And if you don't, you'll pay a small penalty, but it's like $80, I think, or $80 per time you miss it. So I pay these microscopic little penalties. I don't care. And I pay my taxes once a year. It's usually how I do this. The years I owe money in taxes, sometimes I don't owe no money in taxes because of my Five Flags stuff. So that's what I do. Is that similar to what you do? How do you do it? You do it similarly?
I do. Actually, anytime a payment comes to me, I deduct 20% and put it in my escrow account.
So is that a gross payment to your business or payment to you from your business?
A payment to me from my business. And we try to keep as much money in the business and reinvesting in the business as possible so that, of course, we show we have as little tax burden as possible.
Right. So the big thing about when you start making money in your own business, and you guys already have your own business, you already know this well, you don't want to make a lot of money as an individual. You want your business to make a lot of money, and you want the minimum amount of money that goes into your personal income because that becomes taxable. So it is much better to keep your money in your business and reinvest and grow your business than it is to pull money out of your business. Now, obviously, you need to pay your rent and your utilities and your food, of course, right? But the last thing you want to do when you're growing a business, in my opinion, and Bill, you can comment on this, is that you start making money and you go, woo, and you just take all this money out of your account, you buy a cool car, and because I've seen people do that too. No, that's all taxable. That's stupid.
It is, unless you're independently wealthy.
That's different. Right. Then do whatever you want.
Then whatever. If you're not, keep investing that, roll that money back into your business for as long as you possibly can, especially if it's a business like Caleb and I teach you to have and want for you, which is a location independent business.
Yep.
It just gives you so much more flexibility.
It's not taxed if you reinvest back in your business.
Mm-hmm.
So if you buy business equipment, if you hire someone on Upwork to help you, if you buy ads, if you invest in software and tools like Basecamp and things like that, none of that is taxable. It's tax-free.
So, and if you are buying bigger items for your business, I just bought a new desktop because I needed something that was a bit better.
Yep.
And I can take that, I can depreciate that, or I can take a one-time deduction for the entire cost of that equipment.
Right. If it's
you
equipment.
can too when you have a business. So that's, I think, a mistake that most people make when they're starting out. And some people will make forever in their business, is not recording all of those expenses as accurately as possible. Because every stamp that you use in that business is a deductible expense. So regardless of what you're buying, I recommend to all of you that you use one of the receipt keeping tools. I know Dropbox now has a receipt keeping tool. There are plenty of different apps that you can use.
Yeah.
But keep track of everything, because those little stamps add up. You might send 2 letters a month and think this isn't worthwhile. But at the end of the year, if it's $40, that's a nice chunk to take off of your taxes. Why would you leave that $40 lying on the table?
Right. So what we teach people how to do in the 90-Day Business Builder, 90daybizbuilder.com, is that you set up an account, a separate account. It can be a business account or another personal account you designate as business. And that's 100% of your business expenses get run through that account. And all you have to worry about then is keeping, like Billy said, keeping hard receipts for those expenses. But then you don't have to keep track of it. You do have to keep track of it, but you don't have to figure out, well, what was personal and what was business, because it's all separated off into its own account. And for for receipts, what I use is, it's called Adobe Scan. It's an app on my phone. So I believe it's free. I don't think I paid for it. Adobe Scan, and what you do is you take your receipts, you take a picture of them with your phone, and it uploads a PDF to Dropbox, and there you go. You can give that to your accountant or keep it for the end of the year or whatever you want to do. Or if you have a bookkeeper helping you, which you probably don't want initially, but soon. So that's how you do the receipts. You don't need a physical piece of paper. Scan receipts are valid for the IRS and other Western governments. So that's okay. But that way you're covered. And then we could do a whole podcast on bookkeeping. But once it's in your bookkeeping system, then you have to track different types of expenses for your own profit and loss statements. But let's not go there in that podcast, because that opens a huge can of worms.
Nope. And honestly,
we should have a podcast on that. That's
definitely not in my wheelhouse. So I have somebody else do all of my bookkeeping.
Yeah, so do I. I'm a little better at that. I've gotten pretty good at that, but I do have someone else too. Yeah. So we hire a bookkeeper. Once you start making a little money, a few thousand a month, get a bookkeeper. They're very cheap. And boy, will they save you a lot of goddamn time and a lot of hassle when it comes to tax time too. I mean, it's not even close. Yeah, it's pretty important.
Yep, absolutely. And they're just back to wind it back just a little bit. If you type in receipt scanning app, you can come up with a list of 70 of them.
Yeah, there's a billion.
Right off of the bat. There are so many. So find one that works for you, but find it and make it part of your routine to use it. So if you come out of a store having bought some physical goods you bought envelopes at Target, for example.
Yeah.
When you go out to your car, you just scan that receipt. It's uploaded. Your bookkeeper can find out what it is.
When she says scan, that means take a picture with your phone, not literally scan it. Because the olden days we had to do that.
Correct. Right. We don't advocate for caveman technology. So yes, just take a picture with your phone, which is now considered a scan.
I used to do that for years. I had a thing called a Scan Snap scanner. It was awesome back 10, 15 years ago. It's a little scanner. It was just this big, and you flipped it up. You just drop your receipts, go, it would just scan them into a PDF. That was cool back then, but now we have phones. So you don't even need that. It's great. You don't need a scanner at all. You just have to carry it around. And so yes, taxes. To circle back to my taxes, this is the second year now where I've qualified for as an American, the foreign earned income exclusion. And I'm going to do an entire YouTube video on this. I'm not going to go into detail about this right now, but every year I qualify for this FEIE. I learn more about it because it's not as simple as people think. I thought it was just what people think of what I thought was it means that if you stay outside the United States for a certain amount of time, from the vast majority of the year, your first $112,000 of income is tax-free. They don't even charge taxes on that. It's literally taken right off your taxes. So that means if you make less than $110,000 a year, 112, excuse me, and this number goes up every year, you pay zero tax, essentially. Kind of nice. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I make a lot more than that. So I have to pay a tax on the chunk beyond that within certain parameters. However, this year I learned, and I didn't know this, and I'll do a YouTube video about this, go into more detail about it. That $112,000 is factored by the number of days you spend in the United States. So what they do on the tax return is you say, okay, how many days you spend in the United States this year? And you put that in, and it has you divide by the number of days, calendar days of that year, and you get a percentage, and that $112,000 gets reduced by that percentage. So last year in 2022, I spent about 87 days in the United States, which I'm allowed to do under the FEIE I'm qualified for. I'm allowed to stay up to 120 days per year, but as low under that as I can, or else they'll flag you for an audit. Most normal people have to stay out of the United States for a maximum of, they can only spend a maximum of 36 days a year. But I'm on a different plan because I am domiciled in another country. I officially live in Dubai and I can prove it. Anyway, now 87 days is pretty good for me because before that it was a lot more. However, that means that I wiped out 1/4 of that 112 deduction. So I was only able to deduct something like, I forget the number, 85,000 off my taxes instead of 112,000. I went, Argh! Now the good news is this year in 2023, I'm going to spend less than 30 days in the United, well, probably, I don't know this for sure yet, around a month in the United States, like 30 days. So next year I do my taxes, it'll be a lot better. Unless I make more money this year, which, then I got to figure this out again. So moving out of the United States, this is another reason why I'm looking at renouncing my citizenship in a few years, or maybe sooner, is not just, okay, move out and you get this giant deduction. It's a little more complicated than that. And if you are not an American, you don't have to worry about any of this. So if you're not an American, if you're a Canadian, if you're in the UK, Australia, Germany, anywhere in Europe, you just move. And as soon as you move, I'm exaggerating a little bit, I'm simplifying a little bit, but as soon as you move, you're done paying taxes. And I talked to so many people here in Dubai from Europe, because very few Americans are here in Dubai, a lot of Europeans. They all just, I just don't pay taxes there anymore. And I'm like, oh, you're so lucky. You're so lucky. You don't pay taxes. Sometimes, they'll have like back taxes. You still have to pay that. You don't get out of that. But so it's a lot easier for you. So it just goes to show what a clusterfuck American laws are. Even laws you think are simple in terms of taxes are a big mess. And I just wrote a relatively large check to the IRS, not as large as I used to pay, because I'm Five Flags now, but I just wrote that check and I was like, okay, well, it's smaller than it was, but it needs to be zero. And it will be. I need 2 more passports first, and then it'll be zero. Then I can renounce. Sorry, I've been going on a long time, Billy. Sorry about that. I don't know if you have any comments.
Awesome. I'm envious, and I always learn from you when we talk about this topic, because I'm not Five Flags. I think everyone knows that. Paraguay was my first trip out of the country, other than to visit Canada, which is a hop, skip, and a jump away from me personally.
It doesn't count, right?
Well, it counts. Canada, my Canadian friends, you count. But in terms of, the foreignness of your country, not much, at least where I visited.
However, you're getting residency in Armenia, aren't you? Right?
I'm not sure about that, but I think I'm going to do Paraguay in July. We'll be down there for my birthday. It seems like
your birthday's in July. That's right. Are you there during your birthday when we go next?
Yeah. In fact, we told a few of the contacts I made down there that it was my birthday, and they're keen to get together and celebrate. So we'll do something fun down there.
Oh, you're going to get drunk.
I don't really drink. So I guess two drinks and I'll be drunk. That's what happened last time.
Okay.
You're right.
It's South America. It's time to get drunk. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not good at that. So we'll do something more modest.
Well, you're better at it than I am. I've never done it.
You're not missing anything, really.
I think most human beings would disagree with that statement. I think they love getting drunk. When I say I've never been drunk, people go, what? Why not? It's awesome. Yeah, I understand.
Oh, I always just puke if I have more than 2 drinks. I'm going to vomit. I don't like vomiting.
You sound like my wife. Pink Firefly's like that too. She has 2 glasses of wine and she's whoa. Yeah, it doesn't take much. And some people just lightweights. Well, whatever, that's fine. Well, so wait. So then you're thinking about getting residency in Paraguay then? You're thinking about it?
I might fall in love with Armenia in the same way, but I really enjoyed Paraguay such a great deal that I think that's what I'm interested in pursuing. And I think, for bugging out of America, it's a better place to go than Armenia. And that's really what I would use it for, is a bug out country.
I agree with that statement. As a bug out country, Paraguay is, frankly, that's one of the reasons I like it. It's one of the best countries in the world because it's so safe. It's so remote. No one cares about it. It's far away from all the Western wars and the Western problems. And that means there's some disadvantages too. But in terms of a bug out country, it's hard to beat Paraguay. There's a few others. Uruguay is really good. There's a few. But yeah, if that's your priority, Paraguay, and you know how easy it is to get residency down there. You've been through the process with the guys, so it's not that hard. And you know our attorneys now, so it's pretty easy. Yeah. Exactly.
So that's my thinking. And there's another vendor that we might try using down in Paraguay to help with the residency. In addition to our current legal team, I wanted to give something else a try and see how it worked. So I probably would use myself as a guinea pig rather than recommending.
Oh, that's interesting. That'd be cool. Okay, cool. And I know some of you guys are going to ask, whenever I bring up Paraguay, a lot of you guys ask, what about Uruguay? I'm working on it. Matter of fact, I forgot. Billy and I just had a meeting about the events coming up, and I forgot all about Uruguay. So Uruguay, Billy, if you didn't know, I think I've mentioned this to you. Since I don't recommend Panama anymore for residency, for other things I do, Panama's great. Residency is not my favorite anymore. We need to replace that with Uruguay, which is like 2-hour flight from Paraguay. Is really close. Yeah, and Uruguay is a little more. What's that?
They're neighbors, really.
Almost. And so Uruguay is a little more Western friendly. It's a little higher up on the economic scale. It feels a little more normal. It's not quite as not rough. What would I call Paraguay? Not rough, but not quite second world. It's a little further down the economic ladder.
Yeah, it doesn't feel second world, but parts of it are wealthy Western world.
Right.
But not developed as a tourist economy the way many other countries are that have. Well, frankly, every other South American country has access to the ocean.
Beach. Yeah, they have beaches in Uruguay. Yeah, Paraguay doesn't have beaches. They have rivers and they have lakes. So that's it. Right.
And they have rainforest.
Yeah. Oh, they got all kinds of shit, just not beach, not the ocean.
Just not beach. So, and that's why their tourist economy is never going to develop the way the other South American countries can.
Right.
So another benefit that's going to keep cost of living there low.
Right.
Comparatively.
Correct. And so at some point, I need to get Uruguayan residency so I can teach it, because I don't want to do things unless I've done them. So I'm working on that. I've just started working on that now. I'm going to start tackling that for reals later in the year. And then hopefully, probably not this year, guys, sorry, but next year definitely we'll have something for Uruguay, kind of a get residency service for Uruguay, because I think that's really important, because I want to focus on the top 5 countries. So we got Armenia, Mexico, Dubai, Paraguay, Uruguay, and then focus on those 5. Instead of people like Nomad Capitalists that focus on the whole earth, I follow my own advice. I niche. I take the best 5 countries in terms of residencies for Westerners, the easiest ones to get, the most Western-friendly countries, low-ender countries like Paraguay, high-end countries like Dubai, covering the gamut, and then we're covered. So that's the last piece of the puzzle you need to get on that. Anyway, that's coming. Boy, did we get off topic. We're talking about taxes, and we're talking about Paraguay.
It's relevant to taxes. This means I can, if I get residency there, and I would like to spend some of my early winters there every year. Potentially, I might love Uruguay or Brazil more. Who knows? But right now, I'm really digging Paraguay and the vibe down there. But awesome. Every step that we take moves us toward reducing that tax burden every year as an American citizen.
Right.
So there is still relevance to the tax topic.
True.
I just can't really hide my enthusiasm about these programs and about Paraguay in particular, since it's the first non-northern country I've visited.
We are, as you can tell with Billie's enthusiasm and my constant insanity enthusiasm, we are here in this company fans of our stuff. We're fans of these things. We're fans of Five Flags. We're fans of business. We're business nerds. We're Five Flags nerds. We are excited about this stuff. You can tell from both Billie and myself, especially in the last podcast too, when we were talking about Paraguay and stuff. We really, this is stuff from our heart. This is stuff we really believe in and really enjoy from a real deep level. This is stuff we stand by. This is stuff that we're not just doing to make money. We want these things for ourselves too.
Exactly. I'm choosing to spend my birthday down there. And actually,
I didn't realize that. That's awesome. I didn't realize that.
One of the participants has a birthday a couple of days before mine, which is the same day as Jeff, who works with them.
Cool.
So that participant and I are, we're choosing to be there together with this group of guys we've never met. I think we have 10 people going. We choose to be there because we enjoy it that much, or at least I do.
I'll be there a month.
Hard to leave Wisconsin.
I'll be there a full month this time.
Oh, cool. It's hard to leave Wisconsin in the summer because it's very beautiful here.
Oh.
In the summer months, sometimes it gets up to the low 90s, but it always cools off by maybe 30 degrees at night. So it's just it's a lovely, verdant, green place with many lakes and rivers. So it's hard to get me to leave that, but I would choose to still go to Paraguay during that time of year.
So that's an interesting Five Flags thing you guys need to realize when you start visiting your secondary country. If you have a backup plan country or an escape plan country, or you really want to move somewhere. So Paraguay is my second home. It's my secondary living flag. And so one of the ways I set that up was, as I've mentioned many times, Dubai in June, July, August is awful. You don't want to be here. Right now, it's great. Here in April, it's wonderful. But it's just starting to get warm, but it's a good warm. But June, July, August, it's really bad. Now, Paraguay is the opposite. That's when they have their winters, and Paraguay is the middle of South America, so they don't have snow or ice or cold, so it's great in Paraguay in June, July, August. It's like, Fahrenheit now, 60, 65, not 60, 65, between 65 and 75, sunny. Sometimes it rains, sometimes a little windy, but that's fine, but it's fine. So I've mapped it out where when the weather is bad in my primary country, the weather is great in my secondary country. I do run the same problem Billie has, where if I want to go if I want to get out of Dubai, June, July, August, we're going to Scottsdale, Pink Firefly and I, in June, July, August, and it's the same heat over there. So when Paraguay is really good, when Dubai is really good, it's like, November through March it's really awesome, but that's also where you would go visit other countries. So you're kind of stuck. So you have to just map this out in terms of how you want to design your ideal year in terms of where you want to live, and think about the weather patterns. When it's bad where I live in my primary location, where is it really good? And then kind of go from there if you can. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's good in both locations and bad in both, and then you just make that work.
Exactly. And good and bad are still relative. To me, I don't think there'd ever be a good time to live in Dubai, just because it is quite hot. Yeah. And I'm not used to it. I find it unpleasant because you can't really, when you're cold, you can put more layers on. You can only get so naked.
I've made that same statement.
Exactly. So, just know that it's relative. We couldn't get Jeff, or we had to twist Jeff's arm to get him to go to Las Vegas with us, which isn't even very far for him. But he was like, no, this is prime snowboarding time out here in Utah.
Right.
Screw you. I don't want to go somewhere warm.
Right.
Whereas I say, yes, please take me away.
Yeah. Weather is important. Weather is important to your Five Flags plan. It's a key factor. That's why, by the way, I'll give you the opposite extreme of what we're talking about. My hair is sticking up back there. Why is that? Look like alfalfa from the Little Rascals.
Mine looks really cute today. Wouldn't you agree?
It looks great. I was just about to comment on your hair. Yeah. Why is it that the state of California abuses its citizens so badly? You have third world streets. You have cities full of homeless people. The crime is going crazy. The founder of Cash App just got murdered walking down the street. The taxes are the highest, not only in the United States, but in the world. The cost of living is highest, not in the United States, but in many respects in the world, in Southern California. Why do people put up all of that crap? Because of the weather. When I tell people to move out of California, most of them go, yeah, I got to get the fuck out of here. But some people go, but the weather. And so people find the weather so compelling that they're willing to be abused to that level. So that's how weather is important. And I'm saying there are ways you could use the weather kind of like I do at Dubai/Paraguay. Now, again, if you hate Dubai, you hate Paraguay, use two different countries, please. But at least get international backup plans so you can be a Five Flags person and escape what's coming and live a more free life. But the point is, that's how you can use weather to your advantage instead of using it as an excuse. Because there are lots of places. Another example, I keep thinking of all these examples. You can go to a beautiful lagoon beach vacation in Hawaii, or you can go to a beautiful, even better beaches in some respects in the Philippines, and you'll spend 1/5 the money in the Philippines than you will in Hawaii. It's the same exact environment. Matter of fact, the Philippines, you could argue like beaches like Boracay and stuff, best beaches in the world, crazy, and it's cheaper. So same kind of thing. You can use price structures, you can use weather, you can use all these things on your journey to save more money on taxes. See, I brought it back around. I was trying to.
But that was pretty smooth, Captain. Love it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
The other thing to remember is that even if you're not an international Five Flags person, you can still apply these same principles to your location independent business, whether you have one now or are planning on building one. There are huge advantages to perhaps filing your business in a specific state. And we've talked about that before.
Right.
Several of my businesses are in South Dakota to take advantage of tax savings. There is no personal income tax in that state.
Yep.
And now you don't have to live there. There are many ways of getting around that. In fact, Caleb and I are putting together a program to get residency in South Dakota, because that's a state I can drive to and I've been to several times. We're putting together a program to help you guys if you want to get residency in South Dakota for the purpose of filing a business.
For you Americans, to be clear, for you Americans.
Yes, for Americans. We can do it for some international people, but that's on a case-by-case basis.
You can?
Yes, I've been checking out the rules and working with a company who specifically does this.
Oh, interesting.
You
have to talk more about that. That's cool. All right.
Yep, it's limited, but it can happen.
So wait, South Dakota, right? Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
There's no sales tax and there's no income tax, both?
I think there's just no income tax.
State income tax. So while she's checking that is why I've mentioned this, why my American corporations, for the most part, there's a few exceptions. I have a lot of business structures all over the world, are registered in Washington State because there's a sales tax, but I don't care because I don't sell people on the ground in Washington State, because sales tax only applies to people in that state. When you're selling people in that state, at least in Washington's how it works. But there's no state income tax. So I lived in Oregon for many years, and it has one of the highest state income taxes in the country, which means in the world. And just go across the border, 20 minutes across the border, there's no income tax, state income tax. You wipe out that income. I think the flat income tax, not flat, the income tax rate in the state of Oregon is 11%. So if you're making, $85,000 a year, $100,000 a year, and you wipe that out by just going to South Dakota or Florida or Washington, the 8 or 9 states with no state income tax, same thing. It's a mini Five Flags. And if you're not an American, I understand there's a lot of you that aren't. Sometimes you can pull these kind of things too in your own countries, depending on the country you live in, different provincial taxes, tax structures, things like that. Canadians, certainly there's options for that. So, be aware of that too.
Right.
I think you should fucking move out of your country, but that's me. But I'm an extremist.
Right. But that's not right for me. And I know it's not right for a portion of this audience who's listening. So know that there are multiple ways of applying the same principles. And it's all the same thing. It just depends on how far you want to personally take it.
Right.
So if the move for you is, I want to be able to move to South Dakota, or I want to have a business in Tennessee because it will save me money, awesome. If it's, I want to jump out of the country and save internationally and really go hardcore, that's perfectly fine too. Find the level that works for you. Because I'll never agree with Caleb. He's much more out there than I am in terms of some of his beliefs. Right? I know. Who would have ever guessed?
However, Billy just said a few minutes ago something, and then we got to wrap this up because I got to go soon. Billy said something that goes back to what I've talked about. She's looking at Paraguay as a bug out country. So she has no desire to move out of the United States, right? Right.
Correct.
However, she's following our advice where you want to have some kind of backup plan, an international backup plan where you have a country you've set up residency for, not citizenship, just residency. That's it. And you understand the country, you know how to get there, you understand the basics of how to move around, where to get food, basic stuff like that. So if there's a problem down the road, number one, or if you change your mind down the road because things get so bad, number two, or something changes in your life, number three, and now you have an option of getting out. And if you never use your option, fine, you can go down there whenever you want, or up there, I should say, depending on what world you're doing, north or south. You have the option. You have the backup. You have that insurance policy in your life that most human beings don't have. And I always go back to the pandemic. When the pandemic hit, I got a lot of emails from a lot of guys saying, I want to get the fuck out of this country. And I'm not talking United States, although Americans too, Europeans, Australians. I want to get the hell. I can't because I didn't follow your advice. I have no international backup plan. I have nowhere to go. Right. You don't want to wait to the next catastrophe, not only in the world, but in your life. You want to wait to and then try to figure this out. Get this done now. And I've always said this, I've said this 10,000 times, Five Flags hits harder every year. Every year, it's going to get more and more difficult to get these residencies that we talk about here at Sovereign CEO. And I mean that. And I've experienced this myself. I've been doing this for years. It is a lot harder now to navigate this world than it was just 5 years ago. A lot harder. And there are things you could have done 5, 10 years ago that were so easy and so awesome, you can't even do anymore. Unless you want to spend, either you can't do them at all, you got to spend millions of dollars. I mean that literally. So don't wait. Do what Billy's doing. Get a backup plan.
Yep. I'd encourage any one of you to, and step outside of your comfort zone. I did. The payoff for me was huge.
You're a perfect example of that.
I never thought I'd be interested in this stuff, Caleb.
Yeah, I know. I know that. I know.
I was reluctant to really, I've been engaged.
I remember that. We had conversations. Yeah, I remember that. You'll be surprised. A lot of you will be surprised like Billy. You'll go somewhere and you'll be like, oh, wow, I like this. I was sort of in that category when I first started traveling a billion years ago. I thought it'd be interesting. I didn't know I'd fall in love with it. The first time I went to Hong Kong, I'm like, oh my God, I fell in love. So, and it'll happen to you. Yeah, she's right. Get out of your comfort zone.
Yep. And if that means registering a business in a different state or province or whatever there is in your country or name or area, that you can save taxes, do it. Go for it. Push yourself out of that comfort zone a little bit. Transfer your business to another state. Take some step for yourself today, working towards saving on those taxes, because none of us like writing out those checks. And Caleb, like you, I sent an enormous check in yesterday because I waited to the last second.
I sent mine shortly, a few days ago. Not quite the last second, but close. And I procrastinate because I hate it.
Same here. But normally I have it done by the beginning of January because then it feels to me like a clean slate.
Yeah, so you're better than me. I wait.
Taken care of.
Yeah.
So it stressed me out to no end to be that close to the wire.
Yeah.
But it was my own doing. So mea culpa, can't complain. Just do better next year and keep reducing those taxes. And
it's
for
so
me,
painful
that means
to write that check.
It is. But for me, what that means is using my receipt app, paying much closer attention to those small incidentals, So whatever it is that you can do to help yourself save on taxes, please, please do it. And Caleb and I have given you lots of ideas, and springboard off of that. You don't need to do the same things we're doing, but look for those ways you can save on taxes and be really cognizant of what you're spending on your business each year.
And on that, and then we got to go. I've mentioned this before. I don't say this enough. I should probably say this more. The number one expense of your entire life as a Westerner, and this is a literal fact. You can look this up if you don't believe me. If you think this through, it'll make sense to you. The number one largest expense of your entire life as a Western citizen, a Westerner, is taxes. It's more than your wife. It's more than your kids. It's more than your house. It's more than your car. It's more than anything else you'll spend in your personal life. Anything is taxes. That is the biggest expense of your life. And the elites like it that way. They design it that way. And so that's why you need to be good at reducing the biggest expense of your life. And there are guys who have either under 10% total tax burdens like I do. And there are some Five Flags guys, usually non-Americans, who have 0% tax legally. And they don't need to make a lot of money because they pay no taxes. So it's not like they're making bazillion dollars. If you're paying zero tax, or in my case, I paid about around 6-7% total taxes. You don't need to make that much money because you're paying so little as compared to the typical Westerner who pays. And I've quoted this statistic before. I've shown this in my blogs. The average American pays 51 to 70% of his total income in some sort of tax, either taxes he sees or taxes he does not see. Under those burdens, you have to make a decent amount of money just to get somebody to pay your bills. That's stupid. Yeah. Anyway, I could go on and on. Right? Be
tightwads like Caleb and I. Find yourself those savings and work a little less.
Yeah, if you want. If you have suggestions for topics for this podcast, let us know. We're wide open. We would prefer to talk about topics that you guys recommend or suggest to us than topics Billy and I come up with, although I think we do a pretty good job. We got some pretty good topics this podcast so far. But certainly if you have any ideas on, hey, could I get Caleb's opinion on blank or Billy's opinion on blank? Could you please talk about blank? Let us know in the comments. You could certainly email us, theonlyblackdragon@gmail.com. That's fine too. And thank you very much. You have any parting words, Billy? You good?
No, make it a good day, guys. Save on taxes and have fun while doing it. And please don't forget to subscribe or hit like, whatever it is on the platform you're listening to.
Yes. Thank you. I always forget. All right,
guys.
We
have some announcements coming next week, Caleb, about a new event that we've added to the calendar in September.
Oh, yeah.
So I can't wait to tell them about that.
Don't tell them yet. We'll do it next week.
You'll need to tune in next week for that one, guys, so don't miss it.
Cool, guys. Thank you.